I told my husband I didn't want his mother in the delivery room. She showed up anyway, forced her way in, and whispered, "This baby belongs to my bloodline, not yours." My husband watched me cry and said, "Let her have this." 2 weeks later, I called a meeting that ended everything. I've never written something like this before. But I'm still shaking. It's been almost 3 weeks since I gave birth to our daughter. I haven't slept a full night. And it's not just because of the baby. It's because of what happened during my labor. What my husband allowed. What his mother did. And what I finally had to do to stop her. I'm Marisol. 33. I live in Des Moines, Iowa. I teach high school English. I married Tony in 2022. We met at a fundraising banquet. He was polite. Kind. Funny. The kind of guy who made you feel like you mattered when he listened. He was raised by a single mom, May, who always seemed just a little too involved in his life. But I thought it came from love. I told myself, she's overbearing because she cares. Looking back now, I see it clearly. That woman never saw me as Tony's partner. I was just some outsider in the way of what she wanted. The red flags showed early. When we got engaged, she asked why he didn't use a family ring. When I said I preferred a simple gold band, she called me ungrateful. During wedding planning, she tried to pick my dress. She threw a fit because I didn't want a full Catholic ceremony. I bent too much. I wanted peace. Then the pregnancy came. Tony and I were overjoyed. But May, she acted like the baby was hers. She started showing up unannounced. Bought a crib without asking. Talked about our baby in front of people. When I was 6 months along, she came to stay just to help. After 2 weeks, I asked her to leave. She refused to respect any boundaries I set about my health, my schedule, or how I wanted to prepare. Tony and I had our first real fight then. He told me, "She's just excited." I told him, "She's taking over." I made him promise one thing, she's not coming into the delivery room. That conversation happened 3 separate times. Each time, I said it calmly, clearly. It's a medical procedure. I need privacy. I need safety. I need to feel in control. Tony agreed. Every time, he promised, "It'll just be you and me, babe. I got you." He didn't. My water broke at 10:40 p.m. We rushed to Mercy One Medical Center. I was scared, but ready. We got a private room. The nurses were sweet. They asked who was allowed in. I gave them my list. Just my husband. Labor dragged on. Hours passed. Contractions built. Around 3 a.m., they told me we'd be pushing soon. I gripped Tony's hand. My whole body hurt. I was shaking. One nurse stepped out to check the hall. Then the door creaked open. I thought it was a nurse. I turned my head, and there she was. May. Wearing scrubs. Holding her phone. She didn't ask. She didn't knock. She just walked in like she owned the place. "Get out," I gasped. My legs were spread. I was mid-contraction. She walked straight to the bed. No one stopped her. Then she leaned down, put her mouth near my ear, and whispered, "This baby belongs to my bloodline, not yours." I froze. I started crying. The monitor beeped faster. I screamed. I looked at Tony, desperate. He just stood there. "She's already here," he said to the nurse. "Let her have this." I will never forget those words. Let her have this. Let her have my labor. My trauma. My body. Everything after that is a blur. They called in a doctor. I had to have an emergency C-section. I remember the cold table. The bright lights. And crying as they took Charlotte from me and showed her to May first. Not me. We got home 2 days later. May never left. She was already at our house, rocking Charlotte. She had installed her own baby camera in the crib. I confronted her. "You weren't allowed in the delivery room." She smiled. It was for the baby's good. Tony said nothing. That first week, she breastfed Charlotte, without asking. Your milk isn't enough at night, she said. She told me not to swaddle. Told me my sleep routine was wrong. Took photos of Charlotte and posted them without asking. She called her my girl in front of my friends. I asked Tony again, tell her to leave. He said, she's just helping. I asked, helping who? He said, me. I stopped sleeping. I stopped speaking. I went numb. Then, 2 weeks after delivery, I called my sister. I said, come to the house. Bring people who will speak for me. I need support. That Sunday, I invited 6 family members over. My sister. 2 cousins. My aunt. And yes, 2 of Tony's relatives. But not May. Tony knew. He looked scared. May tried to stop them at the door. I told her, you don't have authority here. Sit down or leave. Everyone gathered in the living room. I stood up, holding Charlotte. I told the whole story. In front of everyone. What May did at the hospital. How she whispered that disgusting line. How Tony let her stay. How she tried to erase me from my own daughter's birth. No one spoke. Then I turned to Tony. She walked into a medical procedure I told her not to be part of. She grabbed my hair. She claimed our daughter was hers. And you watched it happen. He finally said, Mom, you overstepped. But it wasn't enough. I said, she breastfed my baby behind my back. She mocked me. She erased me. He just sat there. So I said it. In front of everyone. If you can't protect me and your daughter from your mother, then I'll protect us from you. May started shouting. This is my family. I have rights. I turned to her and said, not anymore. I told her, get out. You're not welcome here again. She tried to grab Charlotte. Tony blocked her. I said, if you ever try to show up uninvited again, I will file a restraining order. She screamed, called me unfit. Said I was jealous. Delusional. Tony's cousin said, May, stop. You're scaring the baby. She left. She texted me that night, you'll regret this. I blocked her. But I don't regret it. I feel grief, yes. Grief for the woman I was before. But I finally drew the line. And now? I know she's still out there. Angry. Watching. I have to be ready. Because the story's not over. It didn't take long for her to come back. For days after that meeting, after I kicked her out of our home, May showed up again. This time, she wasn't alone. I was home alone with Charlotte. Tony had gone back to work. I was sitting on the couch, feeding her, when I heard banging on the front door. Loud, deliberate. I looked through the peephole. May. And a man I'd never seen before. I didn't open the door. She shouted, you don't get to keep my granddaughter from me. I stepped back. My heart started pounding. Then she screamed, this is Paul. He's Tony's real father. He's here now. He wants to see his granddaughter. You can't stop us. I froze. Tony's real father? Tony had told me his dad left when he was a baby. That he never came back. Now May was dragging him to my house like this was a damn family reunion. I texted Tony. Your mom is on the porch. With a man. She says it's your father. He didn't respond. May banged again. Open the door or I'm calling CPS. You're unfit. You're unstable. You're keeping Charlotte hostage. That word, hostage, lit something in me. I called 911. I told them exactly what was happening. I said a woman who had already trespassed during a medical procedure was now on my property, threatening to involve Child Protective Services. I said I was afraid. The dispatcher stayed on the line. A unit came fast. When the officers arrived, May was still yelling. The man, Paul, stood off to the side, awkward. She kept saying, she's not right in the head. She tried to isolate my son. She's making up abuse that never happened. The officers told her to leave. She didn't at first. She tried to argue. Then one of them said, "Ma'am, if you don't go now, we'll remove you." She left. That night, Tony came home late. He looked like he'd been crying. She told me she was going to try to make peace, he said. I didn't believe him. She told me Paul wanted to apologize. I didn't think she'd pull that crap at our house. I told him, "You didn't answer my text." He sat down, stared at the floor. I didn't know what to say, he said. Then I dropped the hammer. You need to choose now. Me and Charlotte. Or her. His mouth opened. No words came out. I said it again. There's no middle ground anymore. He didn't answer that night. The next morning, he was gone. No note. No call. He didn't come home. Later that afternoon, his cousin texted me, "Tony's at May's house. He needs space." He left us. I was alone with a newborn, recovering from major surgery, and he left. I called my sister. She came immediately. I sat on the bathroom floor sobbing while she rocked Charlotte in the living room. 2 days passed. Then an email came from Tony. "I'm not choosing sides. I love you both. I need time to think. Please don't make this harder than it already is." I didn't reply. Because I realized something. He already chose. He chose silence when his mother violated my birth. He chose silence when she called CPS. He chose silence now. And silence is a choice. That week, I got a lawyer. I asked about custody. About restraining orders. About protections. She told me something I didn't expect. "Do you know if your husband signed the birth certificate?" "He did." "Then you're both legal parents. But unless there's violence, we can't keep him from visitation." I asked, "What about her?" "His mother?" The lawyer leaned back. "She might try for grandparent visitation rights, depending on Iowa statutes." My blood ran cold. I said, "She doesn't want visitation. She wants control." She nodded. "Then we'll need documentation. Witnesses. Messages. Evidence." That night, I started saving everything. Every voicemail. Every text. Every video I had of her behavior. This wasn't over. 2 days after I met with the lawyer, I got a message from May. Not a text. A typed letter, delivered by certified mail. It was a formal petition for grandparent visitation. I stared at the envelope for a long time before I opened it. It was real. Legal letterhead. Her signature. A court date. In the letter, she claimed I was emotionally unstable. That I was isolating her granddaughter. That Tony was deeply concerned for Charlotte's well-being, but too emotionally compromised to act on it. It hit me like a freight train. She was going to use his silence as ammunition. I called Tony. Straight to voicemail. I texted him. "Did you know about this?" "Nothing." I forwarded the letter to my attorney. She responded quickly. "We need to talk. There's more here than you think." I met her that afternoon. She said, "There's a custody complication now. And it looks like Tony's name is on some of the documents May filed." I blinked. "You mean, he helped her?" "He didn't sign the visitation petition. But he gave her something." She pulled out another paper. It was a written statement. From Tony. It said, "I'm concerned about Marisol's mental health since the birth. She's shown signs of paranoia. She refuses to let my mother see the baby, even though she's been involved from the start." I almost threw up. He sold me out. My lawyer said, "We can fight this. But this will get ugly." And it did. 3 days later, I got a message from Tony. He finally reached out. "I'm not trying to hurt you. I just think May deserves to see Charlotte. I didn't know she'd file all that. I just wrote a letter. She told me it was for mediation. I didn't answer. Because that wasn't a mistake. That was betrayal. I stayed quiet for days. Then I sent him a message, I'm filing for full custody. I'm documenting everything. If you want to be a father, show up in court. But I'm done playing nice. He came by 2 days later, with flowers. I didn't let him in. You don't have to do this, he said at the door. Let's just find a way. I said, you already made your choice. His face crumbled. But I didn't care anymore. That weekend, May made her next move. She posted on Facebook. A long, public rant. She said I had kidnapped Charlotte. She said I was mentally broken and refused all help from the family. She shared a photo of my baby, taken in the hospital. She even wrote, my son is trying to save his daughter. Please pray for us. I wanted to scream. Instead, I sent the screenshots to my lawyer. The court hearing came fast. Tony showed up in a suit. May was with him. She was smug. He looked pale. I had my sister with me. And the lawyer. When the judge asked for statements, my attorney laid out everything. May trespassed into the delivery room against my medical consent. She breastfed my child without permission. She threatened to call CPS when I enforced boundaries. She used Tony's letter under false pretenses. She publicly accused me of kidnapping on social media. Then came my statement. I read it straight from the page. Your Honor, childbirth is the most vulnerable moment of a woman's life. I was physically restrained and in labor when my mother-in-law entered my room without consent. My husband did not stop her. Since then, she has tried to assert control over my child, over me, and now she's trying to weaponize the legal system to finish what she started. I am not unstable. I am exhausted. And I am terrified. But I am still her mother. And I will not hand my daughter over to a woman who sees her as property. The judge nodded. Then May stood. She tried to cry. She said, I just want to be part of her life. I was there from the beginning. Then the judge said something that changed everything. Mrs. Hernandez, I have reviewed the messages, videos, and statements. This isn't about visitation. This is about control. And the court does not reward manipulation. He denied her petition. But then he turned to Tony. Mr. Hernandez. You supported your mother's request. Do you still intend to seek shared custody? Tony stood silent for a long time. Then he said, no, he didn't look at me when he said it. I walked out of that courthouse shaking. Not because I was afraid anymore. Because I was finally free of her. But the damage Tony did, that was still there. That wasn't healed. And I had one more decision to make. 2 weeks after the court hearing, Tony moved back in. But only to the guest room. He asked to come home just to be close to Charlotte. I didn't stop him. I wanted to watch him struggle. He tried to act normal. Tried to help with diapers, cooking. He made excuses. I didn't know what she was doing. I just thought she needed help. I didn't think it would go that far. But I stopped caring what he thought. I was watching. Everything he did, I wrote down. Every mistake. Every missed feeding. Every time he came home late and smelled like a bar. I wasn't just his wife anymore. I was building a case. And he didn't even see it coming. I went quiet, careful. I gave him rope. Then I found it, evidence he was cheating. It was on our shared tablet. He forgot to log out of Instagram. There it was. Messages with a woman named Haley. Flirty texts. Photos. A conversation about the break we were on. He told her he was just staying at the house for the baby. She asked him when he'd be free for a weekend. He said, soon. I took screenshots. Then I set my trap. That weekend, I cooked dinner. For the first time in weeks. I invited his mom. He was confused. You really want her here? I said, let's move forward. She arrived with a fake smile and 2 cheap bottles of wine. I sat them both down. Charlotte was asleep upstairs. I told them, I forgive you. They both exhaled. Then I pulled out the manila folder. Dropped it on the table. Inside, screenshots. Photos. Dates. A printed copy of his message to Haley that said, "She's only letting me stay so I don't lose custody." May looked confused. I turned to her. "Your son's been cheating on me. Lying to me. Using our daughter as a pawn." Then I turned to him. "I already filed for full custody. With supervised visitation only. Based on emotional manipulation, abandonment, and now, infidelity." His mouth opened. I kept going. "I also filed for divorce this morning. You'll be served tomorrow." May stood up. "You can't do this." I stood too. "I just did. And by the way, your visitation petition and the false CPS claim are also being reviewed for criminal harassment. So I'd suggest you leave now." Tony said, "You don't want to do this, Marisol." I looked him dead in the eye. "You let her in while I was in labor. You watched her touch me while I was screaming. You gave her permission to steal that moment. Then you betrayed me again. And again. So now, I'm giving you exactly what you earned." He tried to say something. May grabbed his arm. She looked at me like she wanted to lunge. I smiled. "I've also filed a no-contact order against her. If she comes near this house again, she'll be arrested. The paperwork's already done." They left. I stood at the door after it closed. I didn't cry. I felt calm. Like I could breathe again. The divorce moved fast. He fought at first. Then he caved. The judge gave me full custody. Supervised visitation. No overnight stays. He had to move out. And because he left work for 2 months during May's nonsense, he also owed child support. Haley dumped him too, found out about everything. I didn't have to lift a finger. May? She kept trying. She posted online. Called my family. But the court order stuck. When she showed up at the park one day by accident, she was reported. She got fined. And warned again. She hasn't been back since. A year later, Charlotte is walking. Talking. Healthy. Beautiful. Tony gets 2 hours a week with her, in a monitored facility. He spends most of it crying. I don't. I don't hate him anymore. I just see him clearly now. And that's enough. Revenge isn't always fire and fury. Sometimes it's a quiet, final door closing. Sometimes it's just never letting someone touch your life again. And never letting them take your peace. Ever. Again.